Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You're listening to That Infernal Noise, now part of the Mental Health News Radio Network.
Devil, not no more for these, you call me Ichigo. Now I let my aura grow as I pull my Zanpakuto. Let me introduce you, his name is Angetsu. Well, he will only live if and when we let you. Been through a lot of things, killed oh so many hollows. Didn't know at first which path was the right to follow. I don't fight cause I want to win, I fight cause I have to. I will take my spirit energy and aim it right back at you. Fighting a nigga be Yakuya taught me a lot of things, like how to channel and harness all my hate and rage in the form of a bankai. I don't understand why I'm the only one fighting, all the others stand by. I'm not such a saint to promise that I'll risk my life for strangers. Neither am I scum enough to sit back while they're in danger. Everyone looking at me like I'm a superhero, like this is the Matrix and I'm playing Neo. But I'll see my duty through. What the fuck else would I do? Just let it all rot or leave it up to Udi. You a fuck all that now, cause I'm the one in full control. That is until the hollow takes control over my soul. I'm a fucking anime kid. 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 And if you don't like it, shut the motherfucker up.
What's up, everybody? Back again for another episode. Today, what's been going on, what's been in my mind is strength through adversity. It's been popping up in my head a lot, and I think it's because of all the adversity I've been having to deal with. There's a lot of things that have been going on recently, just in my personal life, that have really tested me as far as maintaining my positive outlook and maintaining my motivation due to outside sources that I can't even control. My grandmother has been in and out of the hospital since November. Things are not looking great on that front. My mom has done the same, different reasons, but she's got her issues under control, at least, thankfully. Worrying about my grandpa and what he's going to do whenever it comes to all the stuff with my grandma. Chris moving out, Kaylee dealing with her mental health issues. Nothing too serious, thankfully, but it's been very trying and testing over the past few months. Really, the past year. And for me, it's becoming increasingly hard to maintain all the stuff that I preach, to keep a level head, to keep everything as copacetic as possible for me mentally, whereby being more available for my family and whatnot. And it's a son of a bitch. That's the best way to put it for me. It's hard as hell to maintain the ideal professional mentality during all of this. It's hard to keep the ideal perception in my personal life. And I want things to get better. I really do. I want everything to go back to the way it should be, I guess. You know, and like Nish and I always talk about how ghetto this adulting shit is. And I'm sure a lot of people have had the exact same conversation. And it just gets tough. It wears you down. It beats you down to where you have little to no motivation for anything. And I myself know that better than most because of how my body deals with stress and depression and all that. My body tends to shut down very physically. Sometimes I get sick once it gets to a certain point. Luckily, that doesn't happen as much now, but it's still in the back of my mind. And it sucks. It flat out sucks. I don't wish this on anybody. I don't wish anything negative on anybody, period. And I know that sounds very hippie of me or whatever, but I don't. I hate seeing people struggle. I hate seeing people go through the daily bullshit that they have to go through, and I've dealt with it with the majority of my friends on a regular basis for quite some time. Wearing my Yoda shirt. And I just want people to be happy. You know, I don't want anything to be super negative. You know, I try to be the last bastion of sanity for people. I want to treat people the way that I want to be treated now. And it took me a long time to realize the difference between the two. One, talking it, and two, walking it. And that's become increasingly difficult. And it shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. Because everybody deserves the same basic human needs and met and all that stuff. We all deserve to be happy. Now, with all that being said, the way that I've coped with it, the way that I've dealt with it, and I don't know if this could be the same for everybody or if people have the same outlets or whatever, but the way that I deal with it is creativity. For me, it's this podcast. It's creating all manner of things. It's getting things set up for things that I want to do in the future. And people may not see it as a typical creative outlet. But for me, just turning off the logical side of my brain, I guess, and switching on that creative brain, it re-energizes me. It gets me going. It really does. I've been working with various artists creating logos and what will eventually be t-shirt designs. I've already got a couple mocked up. I'm going to be working on a couple more in the coming weeks. Getting a web store set up, that's creativity to me because I want it to look aesthetically good. And still, you know, doing the normal stuff, you know, watching movies with the kids, taking time to do that. It really refreshes me doing all of that. Like last night I sat for, 3 or 4 hours just creating different mock-ups and different colorations of logos and all that stuff. And it really just, by the time I went to bed, I felt better. And I know that that's not the case for everybody. You know, everybody's got their own crosses to bear and whatnot, but I think it's important for everybody to find an outlet like that. For me, that's how I persevere. That's how I'm able to maintain the strength and not completely crack whenever things go sideways. And things go sideways for us quite often. There's always something else, is what Niche and I always say. And I've said it before on here, like I feel like Al Bundy. You take one step forward, you take two steps back. You know, you think that everything's getting better, and then lo and behold, there's something to shit on you. And I try not to have that mindset anymore, because it's not conducive to productivity, for me especially. The more I feel beat down, the less I accomplish. That's just the way it is for me. And you know, a lot of people, well, you just gotta suck it up and do it. And like, yeah, that is true to a certain extent, but you also have to allow yourself the time to get away from the stressors and have something that does the exact opposite, something that makes you feel good. You know, I got a lot of friends that's music or writing or whatever, and or art, even for that matter. Like my kids, it's crazy the outlets that they have. For Chris, it's music. He loves listening to music. He just zones out and has a good old time. You know, he gets away from everything in that fashion with other people's music. For Kaylee, her outlet has always been theater and drawing, and art and crafts and whatever. For Noe, it's right now her sketches. Like, she likes making new characters and designing things and all that stuff. It really gets her going. Logan, recently, he just started writing a story out of nowhere with no prompting whatsoever. He just started writing because he felt like it, and he was so happy and so excited to share it with us. And that's how I feel with all of this stuff. Like, I'm excited to share this stuff. I'm excited to share all of this. I'm excited to see what's going to come, because I have a lot of ideas in mind. I have a lot of things that I want to accomplish, and come hell or high water, I'm going to do it. And for the first time in my life, I don't feel hindered in any shape, form, or fashion. It's the sky's the limit at this point for me, and I thoroughly enjoy that, because I'm balancing my work and personal life. And anybody that knows me will tell you that it was not that way for a very long time. I was a workaholic. It's depressing to think about, honestly. But I would work so much and have so little to give to myself, to my family, to my friends, that I was just drained and beat down all the time. And I see people going through it now. And it sucks. It absolutely sucks, because I've been there. But for me, the biggest thing that helped was finding the balance in all of this. Figuring out how to balance being a husband, a father, a professional worker, a podcaster, anything, everything. Still maintaining time for my friends and my family and like all that stuff. And it's really difficult. But as time's gone on and I've figured out the balance, it seems less difficult. It's not as hard for me to detach from whatever's bothering me, and not in a ignoring kind of way, but more so getting away from it for the moment and then coming back to it whenever I have the bandwidth to deal with it. And whenever I was younger, I did not have that capability. I would dwell on things and it would just fester and turn into something that logically it shouldn't, but I let it, so it did. And I mean, Nish and I had our problems not even that long ago. Well, it's probably about a year now, but we got through it. We got through it because we figured out what we were missing in our lives. And it wasn't anything necessarily lacking in our relationship outside of the communication. But we figured out that we needed something to motivate us. to help us feel fulfilled. For me, luckily, I figured out that I wanted to help people. And this is why I do this. This is why I put so much effort and time into all of it, and why I want it to grow into something that it hasn't become yet. And for the first time, I can see, well, Nisha and I were talking about it, and I can see the unlimited potential right now. Like, is it going to go exactly the way I plan or exactly the way I want to? Probably not. But that's fine. It doesn't need to go to the T exactly what I want to happen. And I've made peace with that. Because nothing in my life has ever worked out exactly the way I thought. I never thought I'd get divorced. Here I am with one under my belt. I never thought I'd get married again. Did that. Never thought I'd have more than 2 kids. I've got 4. And there's just so many other stories in my life of things not being the way that I envisioned them. And I got disappointed. I got real disappointed. I got real depressed about a great many things. And now I find myself at a spot where I don't have that anymore. I mean, yeah, there's things that bother me, and I get down here and there and all that stuff. And if somebody comes at me sideways, there's still that little ghetto side that tends to come out at times. Luckily, I'm professional enough to keep that under wraps for the most part. My boss hears it, but she understands. And it's just, it's so freeing. It's so invigorating to see where I am now versus where I am, or where I was rather, a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I was a repugnant motherfucker 10 years ago. 11 years ago. I didn't have a lot of empathy. I was very selfish at times. And I wasn't happy. When I was... this is going to sound dirty. When I was gratifying every want that I had at that time, I was not what I would consider a good person. In the slightest. And I'm sure my ex-wife will agree with me. But since then, it's like I've really found myself. You know, I was miserable because I was putting all this effort toward what I wanted to do and the itches that I wanted to scratch, as it were. And it did nothing to make me happy. I was trying to fill a void. No pun intended. Well, maybe. Subconsciously. I don't know. But it wasn't fulfilling in the slightest. It's like, yeah, I got a couple notches on my belt, all that shit, but in the grand scheme of things, it didn't matter. Now, where I'm at is, I would consider a 180 from where I was. I want to give. I want to help whoever, whenever I can, just to be an ear to listen or a sounding board or whatever. I don't mind it. And back then, that was not the case. It was very selfish and very, oh, I want everybody to pay attention to me type shit, as opposed to, we have a partnership in this. And I know that could sound however it may sound, but it's true. Like, I have to give something in order to feel fulfilled whenever I get something back. Because I'm not necessarily looking for that. I'm not looking for people to hold my hand in any shape, way, or form, but I don't mind holding other people's hand. because I know everybody's at a different point of the journey than I am. And I try to be very aware of that and try to show as much grace and patience as I can with my wife, my kids, my friends, whoever. And the core group of people that I have around me now are very much of the same mindset that I am. We're all trying to get better. We're all trying to do better. And it's exhilarating, to put it mildly. It's exhilarating because I never have to feel like I have to dumb myself down or change the way that I talk or act or whatever, even at my most juvenile. I could just be myself 24/7 now, and I'm not worried about it. Because the people that love me, love me. And they are my strength. As much as people tend to look to me to be the rock, to be the stability, I guess, which, knowing who I was, that sounds completely ludicrous. It's just nice to know that I have a support system, and my support system is my strength. And because of my strength, I'm able to help others along the way. Even if it's just listening or giving advice or, like I said before, being a sounding board. Just to make sure that people don't feel alone, because I've felt that for so long. I know Niche has. We're just in a very different place right now. Yes, I'm referring to Niche and I, but the world as a whole is at a different place right now. Because it seems to me, I know a lot of people would disagree with me, but it seems like we're on the cusp of something. I don't know what that something is. I would like to think that it's something positive, because there seems to be more of a focus on mental health, more of a focus on taking care of oneself and taking care of each other, and being there for each other. At least that's the way I choose to see it. A lot of people would disagree based on very valid reasons. And it's not that I'm choosing to not see that. It's I'd rather focus on the positives. And the positives in the world are my world. My kids, my wife, my friends. You know, it's always a good time. It's always fun, and there's laughter, and it's stuff like that that really makes all the adversity worth it. Because who's to say, if I hadn't gone through all that adversity or dealt with all the things that I've dealt with or whatever, that I would even have this now, that I would even appreciate it. And that's where all this comes from. That's where the want and desire to do this comes from. That's where all of the energy that I have in my life, positive, comes from, for the most part. And it's kind of a stream of consciousness thing. It's not... I didn't really have a set plan doing this one. But it's really freeing to be like this. And I've seen various people in my life that I looked up to that were this same way, that didn't let things bother them and just kind of rolled with the punches. And for the longest time, I couldn't understand how they did that. And now, at the point I'm at, it makes more sense. It's a choice. And it's not something you could turn on and off. You have to relearn how to deal with the world and how to deal with the stressors and all of that stuff. That's why I will always recommend to everybody going to therapy, because that was the biggest change in my life, along with the medication. But the medication is minute compared to the benefits that I've gotten from therapy itself. And some of the people that I look to never went through therapy. They just understand how to deal with shit in a way that I never could at that point. And I'm just now learning how to deal with correctly, I guess. Because I spent so much time being miserable and trying to blame this, that, and the other for why I'm not doing the things that I want to do. I'm not pursuing the dreams that I had or whatever. And now I'm not like that. It's, well, why can't I do that? Okay, if I want to have a podcast, fuck it. I can buy fucking camera, microphone, recording software. I could do all that on my own. Can't make people listen. But that comes with time. Comes with consistency. Getting out there. Putting it out there. And not being afraid to not immediately succeed. Or, you know what I mean. Not being afraid of failure. Because what have I got to lose? People look at me differently. Well, people already did that. It serves no purpose for me not to pursue and do the things that I want to do. And that goes for everybody. There's nothing hindering anybody except themselves. So I try to put forth effort every day after I get done working to do something with the podcast, to edit video, to post this, that, to create t-shirt designs and come up with new ideas and new topics for this and all of that. And it makes me feel fulfilled. It makes me happy. But most importantly, it makes me content. I'm not looking to the horizon anymore. I'm not wanting for something. Because anything that I want to do, I know I can do. There's no limitations on me other than the ones that I've put on myself. And to me, that's not a good enough excuse anymore to not do these things. Considering getting into music again. I don't know if I necessarily have time for that part, but we'll see. There's a lot of things that I want to do. And this is the start of it. This is the first step in a bigger picture, I guess. And this is my strength. My vulnerability is my strength. I'm not afraid to speak my mind. I'm not afraid to have feelings anymore. Societal pressure be damned. I don't worry about the stigma of what therapy says about me or any of that. Because most of the people that throw that stigma on you are the motherfuckers that need therapy. And I have seen that time and time again. It's just like the people that get mad about other people smoking weed. And like, y'all motherfuckers need to get on weed. Because it helps. I can't anymore. Because I'm old and paranoid. But I digress. So I guess if I have to put nice little bow on this, it would be to find your passion. Find what makes you feel strong. Find whatever it is, even if it's just something as simple as just hanging out with friends, and what makes you feel invigorated. Do it. Do that. If it's starting a podcast, if it's researching the dark arts, if that's what gets you going, do it. Fuck everybody else's judgment. I've done it myself. If it's music, super easy now. All you need is a mic and creativity. I mean, if you suck, don't do it. But if you want to get better, get better. If it's art, pursue it. Practice, practice, practice. That's all it is for any of this shit. That's how I'm getting more comfortable on the mic. That's how I'm getting more comfortable in front of the camera. It's because I keep doing it over and over again. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to look stupid. I'm not afraid to fail. So, what have I got to lose? So, yeah. It's been an eventful day. Hopefully this finds everybody in good health. Or if not good health, at least happy. You guys, don't let the noise control you. You control the noise. Peace.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. If you like the show or know somebody who would, please subscribe and share to help us grow the show. You can follow us on all socials at That Infernal NPC. You can listen on YouTube and Podbean at That Infernal Noise or anywhere else you get your podcasts. Please tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.